Now, Kevin Durant responding to him, I'm actually thankful that the video of Riv's KD rant, when it went viral again, he didn't get his eyes on it again.
No, he responded.
He did.
Yes.
Was it on Instagram?
Yes, it was on Instagram. It was on IG.
He said that's talking about Riv, like, oh, you talk about guys that get cut from JV.
Yeah, he said I got cut from the JV team in 10th grade.
He's throwing the same insults. But no, KD has responded to everybody. And I feel like because we never got a chance to do this, and I feel like it's just right if we do it now. That video has went viral again. That video, that moment happened years ago.
Yes.
And I think we should revisit that moment. Just that moment in just talking about, one, the virality of it, and also just the take of it, of Kevin Durant not being legendary in the playoffs, because that was the conversation.
Yes, people do get it confused and get it. People think I said he's just not a legendary player. Yeah, we could do that. I think it's gone viral a few times at this point. I think it's from in my what I've seen, it's been a 50-50 battle. Like people saying he was right, people saying no, he's an idiot. But I think most of the people aren't really understanding where the context came from. Like we were talking about the playoffs, just flat out the playoffs. I think this was not fresh, but we were talking about the Brooklyn series. And we were just talking about whether he was a legendary playoff performer. It was never about him as a player, a general player, all time, none of that. It was just legendary playoff performer. You named a couple names. We were going back and forth about it. And, I think people just – obviously, it's a TikTok video. It's a short clip, so you're not going to get everything you want to get out of it. But I still stand on what I said. So, I still stand on it. I think I still firmly believe that.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that's happened since that moment that's going to make you think differently.
Yeah.
The thing is with Kevin Durant is that
shot versus Serbia didn't move it.
Olympics. He's a legendary Olympic player.
He is the GOAT Olympic player.
The thing about Kevin Durant is that, listen, while I disagree that in the playoffs he plays to the level of a legendary player, I don't think he has a moment. He like other all-time greats where you put him in that category, but he's top 5 all-time in points per game in the playoffs. In OKC, he made 4 conference finals, made an NBA finals. Golden State, people erase that, but you go there, you win NBA championships, you were the finals MVP. But those runs we don't view as his defining moment, and we shouldn't. I think the truth about Kevin Durant is that Kevin Durant is, no doubt about it, a legendary basketball player. He's one of the 15 best players to ever play the game. But when you go into the context of him being a legendary playoff performer, what is the classification to be a legendary playoff performer? You have to have a run that defined your career. Dirk Nowitzki had it in 2011 against Miami Heat and LeBron. Hakeem Olajuwon had it in 1995 when he won MVP, DPOY, and won an NBA championship. You look at all the top players in the history of basketball: LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade,
Steph Curry as of recent
Abdul-Jabbar.
with 2022.
They have all won a championship where they led their team to the championship. And unfortunately, with Kevin Durant, his 2 championships came, even if he won Finals MVP, it came with him not leading the team. And because he does not have that defining moments, regardless of the stats he has, top 5 in playoffs points per game, like he's one of the best individually playoff performers in the history of the game. But he doesn't have a run that cements himself. And that run could have been in Brooklyn, but he got unlucky. And I feel like that's been the story of KD's career. He's always came in second. He's always been unlucky to something. And there is no true place that KD can call his franchise. All these all-time great players that we point to, we can point to a franchise that they coincide with. D Wade with the Heat, LeBron with the Cavs or Heat, even Lakers now. But when it comes to Kevin Durant, OKC still has not forgiven him for what he did to them in leaving. Golden State does not accept Kevin Durant
they're crazy
either. The Brooklyn Nets do not accept him because he really didn't do much for them. And now he's with the Phoenix Suns, and we don't know how that's going to go. There's no place that he can really call home. There's no fan base that overly accepts KD and they say, he's our player for this franchise.
I don't think, the one thing I'll say, I agree with what most of you said. The one thing I don't agree with is him being unlucky. He blew a 3-1 lead to the Warriors. He decided to go to the Warriors. He decided to leave the Warriors and go to a Nets team that historically has not been great, team up with an historically player that has been a little wishy-washy with Kyrie Irving, then end up asking for a trade, I feel like a lot of these last post him leaving the Thunder, I feel like a lot of it has to do with the decisions he made. It wasn't like, of course, in the Brooklyn series, he had teammates get injured, but I feel like for a lot of it, he was making decisions that put him back historically. When he goes to Golden State and teams up after blowing the 3-1 lead, when he goes in, instead of either staying with Golden State or going to another place, going with the team with the Brooklyn Nets that we, with the first time head coach and a lot of question marks around it. So I agree with a lot of what you said, but I think Kevin Durant is to blame for a lot of the reasons why we don't look at him as that, D Wade, Bron type of, historical.
Well, he's better
moment.
than Dwayne Wade all the time.
I'm saying historical moment type of, yeah.
Did you guys see what he was having a conversation with people after? And he was talking about how I think somebody told him like, oh, you're just mad because the Joker was better than you, and then he was just like, respectfully, we don't give a fuck about like who's better than who, and they were talking about like the brotherhood and stuff like that.
He basically say,
I know what you're talking
fans, what you guys think, you guys do your top 10, 30 rankings, whatever, that does not matter to us. Like Jokic has respect, but we don't look at him like
to a degree. I don't think it matters. Like I think the respect of NBA players,
and that's cap. That is cap because Kevin Durant made that move to go to Golden State for one reason and one reason only: to be the best in the league, to be the best in the world. That is why there's some validity to that statement. But at the same time, he made that decision to go to Golden State.
I think now though he doesn't care.
Agreed.
I think he's grown out of that.
Agreed. But to say that they don't care, they've never cared, is bullshit. It is a lie.
Every player cares about winning. Dale's what I was referring to.
I'm not talking about winning. I'm talking about being the best and being referred to as the best.
I thought Katie went to the Warriors to win.
No,
he went to go to win, of course, but what do people associate with winning also, especially when you are at that high of a level?
I know what you're saying.
Now, Dels, I was speaking to him being unlucky when his foot was on the line for the game winner.
That was unlucky.
There's just been moments like that.
Then he went 0 for 6.
And after 2012, when they made the NBA Finals, they made the conference finals in 2013, and they lost to the Spurs that beat the Heat in 5.
No, they washed
Then the next
everybody.
year, they beat the Rockets in the first round, but Patrick Beverley injured Russell Westbrook, and then he went up against the Grizzlies with no Russell Westbrook and lost in 5. And he blew a 3-1 lead to the Warriors, but what people don't talk about is that the series before, he beat a historic Spurs team. That Spurs team was one of the best teams in regular season history.
Congratulations.
That shit's
Great
also
second round win.
a decade ago.
You gagged in the WCF.
No, that Spurs team was fucking OD though.
No,
the
awesome.
Spurs were crazy that year.
Great second round win. Agreed. You gagged it in a moment that is your defining moment.
Yeah, 30 in Game
I
7.
beat the best team ever.
No, I know.
No, I
That is-
didn't actually. I blew a 3-1 lead.
I know that
and I
could have
played
been
like shit.
That could have been his moment, but then again, we look at that team, 73-9. You gave them 33% of the losses they had all season, and you're not supposed to blow the lead. But in Game 7, he played well. That's all I'm gonna say. What I will say about Kevin Durant is the fact that move to Golden State, I don't feel like it's rooted as much in him trying to slight somebody or him trying to make this power move, even though that's what he ended up doing. I felt like the move was his best option realistically, because in that offseason, when we look at all the teams that were trying to sign him, the Wizards freed up cap to do it.
Wasn't Boston a part of that?
Boston was a part of it with Isaiah Thomas and Evan.
Nice little squad.
Boston would have been the one spot where he would have went to, and they probably would have been favorites, but it wouldn't have been looked at like the Warriors.
With the Wizards, he didn't want to go back home. He didn't want to go back to DC, and he just was
Tim would have
that.
been average.
He was just past that time in his life. You look at the teams that were chasing him: the Spurs, the Celtics, the Clippers.
Spurs would have been
It would have.
insane.
I'm not saying it wouldn't have. I thought it would have been great, but a weird thing happened that year in the NBA.
Really, anyone but one team.
Literally the
Anywhere
only
but one
team he couldn't have gone to,
Remember the
he did.
Cavs?
A weird thing
Of
happened
course.
that year in the NBA where the cap spiked tremendously.
Yeah.
None of those teams outside of Golden State had the money to sign him.
I thought the Spurs did have the money to
They
sign
didn't.
him,
Boston also had the money.
They would have had to move people, I'm assuming.
which is fun. Okay, you do that.
Golden State, because they signed Steph Curry to such a cheap deal because he had
Curry's
injury
making
concerns with
11
his
million a year.
ankles, they were able to give KD the max and offer him more money and the best situation to win. And he didn't want to go back to Golden State.
Also, because Harrison Barnes was an unrestricted free agent too.
Yeah.
And that was money that they, instead of giving to Harrison Barnes, we give it to Kevin Durant.
So for him, I felt like it was more of a...
He was restricted.
Oh, they just let him go?
Because they drafted him.
Of course.
Yeah. It was more of a move that he made because he's like, okay, if I can choose between all these situations, I feel like Kevin Durant is the ultimate basketball purist. All he cares about is playing a style of basketball that's fun for him. Do I really want to backpack the Wizards? Do I really want to go to Boston with a 5'9" Isaiah Thomas? All due respect to him. But we knew how quickly that ended.
Again, he could have gone
I'll
to
be honest,
the Spurs.
anybody at this
They didn't
table
have the money to sign him.
But they
anybody
could
at this
have
table,
moved it around to
if we
get
are
it
Kevin
done.
Durant in that position, we're looking at all situations. We're all going to the Warriors.
Are you 100% sound that
We're all
they
going to
didn't
the
have
Warriors.
money?
We're looking at Steph, Clay, Dre, and Iggy. We're like, yeah, it's the vibes. Hamptons, Steve Kerr's out there. Yeah, we're all going to. Well, maybe not Dels. He's probably going to Boston, but
Yeah. The shit that sucks and hurts me is that Kevin Durant was easily my second favorite player. A lot of people's second favorite player was Kevin Durant. A lot of LeBron fans loved Kevin Durant. And then he goes to the Warriors, and then he lost a lot of people's support.
Kevin Durant was the most likable star until he went to Golden State.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is that I think he just went to Golden State because he saw Golden State and said, I want to play basketball like how they play basketball. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to move the ball around like how they do. He wanted to play in a system that was the most fun for him basketball-wise.
Riv, you do say that any of us would have went to Golden State, maybe, but I feel like when it happened, it was still shock across the NBA world. We're like, he really picked Golden State.
Low key.
The fucking players should.
I think it was more of a shock that they had a chance to get him. It was like, wait,
Yeah.
what? Like, how do y'all even have all these possibilities?
Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm sorry, because I'm looking up the Spurs situation. That team, that was the defensive rating that had 90. It was like a 97.
That team had Tony Parker, Danny Green,
Was that the
Kawhi.
team that after they didn't get Kevin Durant, they got LA?
They won 67 games that year, didn't they?
So I'm
Yes,
looking
they
at an
did.
article from that time, signing Kevin Durant to a max contract that would start at $25.8 million. How
Jesus Christ.
much cap is spiked now would require some serious cap gymnastics from San Antonio, but it's very possible. So it was possible, but there was a lot of things that
Yeah,
had
it
to
would have
happen.
been done.
They would have figured it out.
It would have been
if
done.
Katie was like, I want to come, they're like, let me just put in some work real quick.
Yeah, but with Golden State, they were just able to offer it to him.
Yeah,
and be
make
like,
it easier.
There's nothing in between us
play with Steph.
getting you. But yeah, I just feel like that's why
Celtics brought Tom Brady to the meeting.
It was the ultimate luck factor for the Warriors that the cap just so happened to spike, and they were paying their star players an insanely cheap amount for what they were actually worth.
And how do you, if you're the Warriors, that's the easiest. Yeah,
For the Warriors,
come play
yeah,
for
no
us,
shit.
please.
No one's going.
Make us a cheat code.
That meme was lit. I heard the meme was lit.
Really?
Yeah, when Draymond talked about it when he was on JJ Redick podcast, he was like, they met up in the Hamptons. They had to go get Steph from golfing. He was about to miss the meeting. They had to send a private plane to go get Steph. They all met up in the Hamptons. They say, yo, Steve Kerr, just hop out. Let's talk to him, just basketball. Chopped it up for a little bit. And then KD was just like, is Steph cool with this? Does he go with this? Steph said, yeah. He was like, come to Golden State.
I think that Kevin Durant, the move would have been more accepted if he stayed in Golden State. If the Draymond situation never happened and he stayed in Golden State.
Or they don't blow a 3-1 lead. They win. They lose in the finals. And then he goes to Golden State.
I'll talk as a bitter LeBron fan, being sincere. I never hated a player as much as I hated Kevin Durant when he joined the Warriors. He ruined to me, of course, again, I don't care how soft I sound. I'm a grown-ass man talking when I was a kid. I hated the fact that he ruined LeBron's chance to be undisputed GOAT. He's coming off beating the 73-win Warriors after coming back from 3-1 down. There is nobody in the world that would have picked against LeBron James that year after if they were just running it back for part 3. That was his chance, especially with the way you saw how dominant he was in 2018. There's no doubt in my mind LeBron James, if it was Kevin Durant never joined the Warriors, he would have been favored to win the next 3 years in a row, especially for the fact that they won in 2020 also. I hated Kevin Durant for ruining what could have been LeBron's undisputed GOAT case.
I don't know about all that.